All right, let's go ahead and go through systems by substitution. In this type of problem that we're working on, your goal is to substitute things you already know. In this case, you know that x minus 3 is the same thing as y. Okay, so if we know that x minus 3 is y, it's the same thing, it's like saying, okay, let's see, let me focus that. There we go. It's like saying, okay, everything inside this box can be replaced, or can replace y. It's like saying, this is my Christmas present, y, and it's in this box. So every time I see a y, I can put the box. So I plug it in and say, okay, x minus 3 goes in place of y equals 2x minus 3. All right, well, x minus 3 cannot equal 2x minus 3. If you plus 3, you get x equals 2x, and that's not true. Okay, you cannot have x equals 2x, and so that won't work. Okay, so there's no solutions. And how do I know that? Well, I can just say, all right, if I have 5, is that the same thing as 2 times 5? The answer is no. So there's no solutions on that first one. Okay, let's move over to number 2. Again, I know what y is. Y is everything inside that box. I'm told that because y equals that. So wherever I see y, I can plug it in and say, okay, negative 2x minus 5, there's my box, right, equals 2x plus 11. Okay, now let's go ahead and get the x's away from here. So we're going to minus 2x because we want all the x's on one side. We're left with negative 4x minus 5 equals 11. Now I'm going to add 5 and add 5. I have minus 4x equals 16. Divide by negative 4. Divide by negative 4. And I am left with x equals negative 4. Because 16 divided by negative 4 is negative 4. I'm not done yet though. I have to plug that back in. Okay, it doesn't matter which one you plug it into, but you have to plug it back in. So if I plug it back in there, I say y equals negative 2 times negative 4, because I just put the whatever x equals right there, and then minus 5. Well, negative 2 times negative 4 is positive 8, and 8 minus 5 is 3. So I would get negative 4 and 3 for number 2. Sorry, I wrote off the page, but you can see what I did. Okay, I just plugged in the negative 4 and then solved down until I got to 3. All right, let's move on to number 3. In this one, I'm told that y equals everything inside here. Okay, so that means everywhere I see a y, I can plug in that number. So that means I have 2x plus 3 times y. What is y? It's negative 4x minus 3 equals 1. Sorry, I had to write that small. That's hard to see, I know. Now we've got to distribute the 3, and we are left with 2x, and 3 times the negative 4x is minus 12x. 3 times a negative 3 is minus 9 equals 1. Now I'm going to combine the two x's. If I have two x's and I take away 12 x's, I'm left with 10 x's. And I'm going to go ahead and add 9, and I'm left with 10 because that gets rid of that 9. And then I'm going to divide by 10, and I'm left with x equals 1. But I'm not done yet. I now have to plug that back in. And I would plug it in right there where you have x equals. So you have y equals negative 4 times 1 minus 3. Okay, well, negative 4 times 1 is negative 4. And negative 4 minus 3 is negative 7. And so those are our two answers. If I move over to number 4, down here is where I see what y equals. Okay, I see right there, y equals something. Well, I can plug in that number right there for wherever I see y. Anywhere I see y, I can plug in x plus 3. So I'm left with 3x minus x plus 3. And notice this time I'm putting it in parentheses. It's very important because it's minus that whole thing. Okay, equals negative 5. Okay, now I have to distribute that negative throughout, and I'm left with 3x minus 3 equals negative 5. So you see how it's important to distribute the negative all the way throughout the whole problem. That's why I always say when you plug in, always put it in parentheses. Now we're left with 3x minus x is 2x minus 3 equals negative 5. And we're going to plus 3, and we're left with 2x equals negative 2x. And that means right there. That means x equals negative 1, because we're going to divide by 2, and we're left with x equals negative 1. Okay, so if we have negative 1, we just plug it back in right there. Okay, right where we have the y equals. Makes it much easier. Y equals negative 1 plus 3. Again, just put it in the parentheses. Negative 1 plus 3 is 2. So we have our y equals and our x equals. I'm going to zoom out so there's a little more room. I'm writing off the screen too much. Okay, this next one, 5. This is same type of thing. We're told y equals something, so let's plug it in wherever we see y. That gives us negative 4x minus 3, parentheses, 2x plus 3, parentheses, equals 1. Okay, again, when you plug in the whole package inside parentheses right here. So all I did was take this number that we know y equals and plug it in right there wherever I see a y. And now we're going to distribute. Negative 3 times 2x, we get negative 4x minus 6x, and negative 3 times 3 is a negative 9 equals 1. Okay, negative 4x minus 6x is negative 10x minus 9 equals 1. We're going to add 9. We have negative 10x equals 10. So x equals negative 1, because you divide by negative 10, divide by negative 10. Now we plug it back in here, right off of that equation right there. And we say, okay, everywhere I see an x, I'm going to put a negative 1. So y equals 2 times negative 1 plus 3. Well, 2 times negative 1 is negative 2, so y equals negative 2 plus 3, which is 1. Okay, number 6. In number 6, we don't have a y equals anywhere or an x equals, so we have to manipulate one of these. If we look right here, what if I do minus y? I get x equals negative 8 minus y. Now I have a box for x. So I'm doing it that way. You could have subtracted the x and have y equals negative 8 minus x. Same thing. I'm doing it this way so you can see that you can plug in anything. You can plug in for the x here too. So now I have 7 times x, which is negative 8 minus y, and then minus 2y equals negative 2. So we solve it the same way we have been doing it, and just solve for y this time. So 7 times negative 8 is negative 56. minus 7y, 7 times y, and then minus 2y equals negative 2. Combine the two, we have negative 56 minus 9y equals negative 2. Now we're going to add 56 to both sides to get rid of this. And we get negative 9y equals negative 2 plus 56 is 54. And divide by negative 9, divide by negative 9. And we have y equals negative 6. Okay, now we have our negative 6. We plug it back in. And I'm just going to plug it in right here. It just seems like a really easy place to plug it in for me. Okay, so with that I say, okay, x plus negative 6 equals negative 8. Okay, well, I'm going to add 6 to both sides because that's the same thing as minus, right? So I'm going to plus 6 and I get x equals negative 2. So I have my y and my x. Okay. Number 7. Again, we don't have anything solved, so I'm going to solve for y right here. It seems like an easy solution for me. So I'm going to go ahead and plus 8x plus 8x, and I get y equals negative 24 plus 8x. Okay, so there's my y box right there. Now I plug that back into the other equation. So right here is where I'm going to plug it back in. And I'm left with, and I'm going to do this on a piece of scratch paper so I don't run out of room. And I'm left with negative 7x plus 8 times y, which is negative 24 plus 8x. So everything in the box goes in where the y was, equals negative 21. Okay, now we just distribute the 8. And we have negative 7x, and negative 8, or 8 times a negative 24. I'm just going to use a calculator. 8 times negative 24 gives us negative 192. So negative 192, and then 8 times 8 is plus 64x equals negative 21. I'm going to combine the two x's. They both have x's, so I can combine them, and so I have 64 plus a negative 7 is the same thing as 57x. Minus 192 equals negative 21. And now I'm going to add 192. 192. And even though they're big numbers, don't let that panic you at all. Just solve through. And we have 57x equals negative 21 plus 192 is 171. And then 171 divided by 57 is 3. So x equals 3. Okay. Now we have x equals 3. Plug it right in right there. Okay, right where we have the 8x. Therefore, you can use your calculator. Okay, you can say, all right, I can see right there that y equals negative 24 plus 8, and then put it in parentheses, 3, right? X equals 3. And so we're just plugging in x and putting it inside the parentheses right there. And we get 0. So y equals 0. Okay, let's move over to number 8. It's similar, and again, I'm just going to use some scratch paper. Nothing solved for x or y right now. So I need to have one of them solved for x or y. It's easier to just solve for x right here because there's only one x. So I'm going to plus 7y plus 7y. And I'm left with x equals 13 plus 7 times y. Okay, now I can plug that one back in up here, any place that I see an x. So I have negative parentheses. Remember, put it in parentheses because it matters, especially when there's a negative there. You have 13 plus 7y, and then, so that's all of x, and then minus 5y equals 11. Okay, so let's distribute the negative sign. So we have negative 13 minus 7y. So it's the same thing as there being a negative 1 there, and you're multiplying everything times negative 1. Minus 5y equals 11. Combine the y's that we know, negative 7y and negative 5y is minus 12y equals 11. Now I'm going to add 13. Add 13, and I have negative 12y equals 24. Divide by 12, negative 12. Divide by negative 12 because we're trying to get the y by itself, and we're left with y equals negative 2. Okay, so we're just going to write that right here, y equals negative 2. And if I know what y equals right here, I'm just going to plug that in right there so that I can use my calculator. Okay, and once again, we'll just type it in. X equals 13 plus 7, and then put the y inside parentheses, and then hit enter, and you get negative 1. So x equals negative 1. Okay. Now at this point, I am going to stop the video. I don't have time to keep going on 9 and 10, so I will exempt you from 9 and 10. You don't need to do them, but they are extra credit if you would like to do them. They're 1 point each, so you can earn 7 points on this assignment if you do 9 and 10. So I hope this helps.